welcome back. We are moving into our first segment for this morning. Very, very interesting. We had some very interesting conversations throughout the commercial break. Digital marketing is actually what we're about to talk to. In with us is none other than Mynor Larrieu. And this guy, of course, hey, it's always nice to see you, sir. Welcome. He's actually a digital marketing strategist. Welcome. Good morning. I like the quote too.
Thank you. Good morning, guys. Thank you.
Good morning, Mynor. It's great to have you here, and this is such an interesting topic. And I think we're going to be demystifying it for some people, and then also strengthening or perhaps changing some of the practices that people have been undertaking. Okay. But let me just start off with how you first got interested in digital marketing and your own path to discovery.
Wow, that's a very, we could spend the whole day talking about that.
We'll do the 30-second for sure.
All right, so let me see if I could wrap it up in 30 seconds. So my background is core marketing, international marketing, and I've always loved computers. From a very young age, I've been putting computers together. And at the point where I had to choose what to major in college, I said, I always loved computers and technology, so let me learn something new. And so that's how the merger came. And I've been also in the tourism industry for over 15 years.
Wow.
Right, at a very young age. So I think that merger of my core background and college education and my passion for technology has really drove me to where I've been. But the point that you drive of the path, that's never been an easy one. And even when I finished my bachelor's degree, I searched for 3.5 to 4 years on that digital marketing master's degree, but at the time there was none, so it's pretty difficult. It's not an easy path.
And let me say, you were definitely ahead of the trends with what was to come. And I think many people who are involved in marketing and trying to jump into the digital aspect for it don't necessarily understand how different an arena they're working in. And it's hard to figure out what people are going to like, not like. Sometimes it's like a hit and miss, and how consistent you need to be. So when you look at the landscape in Belize, and there's so many companies and businesses and even individual brands that are trying to put themselves out in the digital world, would you say that we're doing well?
I think we're definitely behind, and I think the last time I was here, we spoke about that digital transformation happening in Belize. It's still pretty much very new. I think a lot of our older marketeers or more traditional marketeers are not embracing digital marketing as quickly as we want, or as quickly as technology is moving. And this is one of those things that is not going anywhere. Actually, the World Economic Forum said in the next 15 years, kids today will have jobs that haven't even been created.
Wow.
So those are really cool stats to look at and to think about, because technology is just moving so fast. You're either with it or not. You're either an early adapter or a late adapter, but you better adapt.
But when it comes to the entire digital marketing, would you say that it's much more easier and cheaper to be doing this online, for the fact that a lot of people are actually, it's like, online is actually a brand new world. And just when we think that, only 350,000 people live in Belize, 370,000 people live in Belize, you've got millions who are actually looking at what your business is. And again, in the tourism industry, we've got millions of people who are actually visiting sites in Belize. So would you say that this is a win-win situation for people who are actually on it, and for those who want to come on it?
Well, I've seen cases where people are on it, but they're not doing it adequately. So they look at it like, I'm not doing this. Yes, it's free, but the resources and creativity that you pump into it really has to be planned. Social media has done that. It has leveled the playing field now. If you really think about it, everyone and everybody publish content. There's a content explosion. Facebook says that there's over 100 million hours of video content published daily. So even the social media, and their algorithms are changing. Giving quality content prime spots versus the quantity. So business have to also look at that. It's not just doing it, but doing it right.
And I think that's such an important point, because sometimes I think we have like I'll date myself here, but like a field of dreams mentality. If we build it, they will come.
Yeah.
I build a beautiful website, they'll come to my web page.
Yeah.
I have an updated Facebook page that I don't post enough, so the algorithm doesn't really allow it to be on anybody's page. So let's move into some of the general tips. Now, you said that there are different aspects of digital marketing, and I think people like us who aren't involved just automatically think of social media.
Yeah.
But there's so much more. So let's start there.
Well, I think the core, getting started can be very overwhelming. You know, my path alone took me 3 years of doing different digital certifications before I actually reached to where I'm at.
Yeah.
And even when I do trainings, people are like, wow, you know, like I was coming here for a day and I stayed 2 because you really encompass everything in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But you really have to have a strong content marketing strategy, right? You have to be unique. Mark Twain said, you can be anything in the world but be genuine, right? And if you really think about that, there's only one Marlene, there's only one Mynor, right? There's only one Open Your Eyes. So sell that. There's nobody else in the world like you, right? Be unique. People come to your business place because they love what you do. And a lot of times, to what Marlene mentioned, you fall in love with your brand, and sometimes you have to remove those glasses and put on your customer's glasses and see, you know what's your special sauce?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't know what their special sauce. They just know people come, but they don't know why.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to really take a step back and plan your. It's called a content roadmap. So you have your brand in the middle, and then you have different content categories, and then you start developing these content categories. Then you start planning the delivery message, your delivery social media channels, and you go that way, you know, and then you look back and see what works well for you and what doesn't work well for you. And I think 4 content drivers that you need to keep in mind are your content needs to be inspiring, educating, convincing, and also entertaining. Right? So think about anything that you browse through every day on social media. Whenever you stop, it's because it has one of these 4 factors.
Yeah.
Right?
But you know,
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I say, you know, what makes you click on something? And that, I mean, we are the market, even for your own business. Like, we are the market.
Exactly.
Now, I want to ask a very specific question, because there is always this concept of quality versus quantity, and I want to bring that to you. Is it being on all platforms and continuously pushing information, or is it investing in perhaps a great mini video that you will hopefully get to go viral?
Well, that's a very, I get that question asked a lot actually, and I think it depends on a couple of variables, right? One, your resources, right? If you only have time and resources to be on one social media channel, do that one social media channel, but do it really good, right? At the same time, do open the others just so nobody steals your names, right?
True.
In addition to that, you have to have goals. Anything, and this is the cool part about digital marketing versus offline. You know, traditional marketing, you'll put a 15,000 magazine ad and wait and sit back 6 months and cross your fingers, and hope that somebody comes in through that door. Today you launch a digital campaign, and within seconds you know if it's performing or it's not, if Facebook even approved it.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And you know those things right away. Is it working? Is it not working? You could actually pause it. You know, you wanted to spend $100, you pause it. If it's not working, try something new.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the analytical part and the metrics to measure success is very key. And you know, going back to how often you should do it, it's kind of like going to the gym. You know, if you look at your analytics once a week, then you're gonna get once a week results. You know, you need to stay constant, and it's a listening strategy at the same time, because you're learning from your audience. Remember, you have to remove those goggles. And you have to give your audience what they want, right? And in social media and in content marketing strategy, there's something called your content diet, right? Where you give people a big meal, a snack, a bite, and you feel their way around, right? It's kind of like how you guys eat every day, right? If you eat a lot of big meals, guess what's gonna happen? Your body's gonna crave that. So you gotta give them the right mix, the different type of content categories that your brand stands for, and also with the right voice, so that it's carried digitally.
So let's get into the fact that businesses, like you mentioned, actually, especially for the older business, these folks will think, you know what, I prefer to go the TV route or the radio route, or just stick some paper up, because I don't want to get into the expense of social media or actually marketing my business on the internet. Then we hear about the bullying on the internet, and I don't want to be a part of this as well. Now people are staying away, or some folks might stay away because of this. What do you say to these people so they know that, you know what, this is actually worth the while for you, rather than to have the mindset that it won't work?
Well, I think, again, going back to traditional marketing, if you have core values and your brand values and your brand voice and your social media brand voice is authentic and genuine to your brand, it should be the same on social media, on TV, on radio. So it shouldn't be any different. So if you're being attacked on TV because of a TV ad, and I saw a local company, I think it was like a month or so ago, they got a lot of negative lashback because of an ad they put out on social media. I'm not sure if they run it on TV, but there were a lot of comments about that, and they were trying to sell their products very, very in a sex sales kind of way.
Yes.
And I think they got a lot of lashbacks, and even the owners were being attacked personally. And so those are the things you have to be very more mindful about, because now everybody's publishing and everybody's commenting and everybody's watching your brand and what you do or don't.
And isn't that a very important point in terms of knowing your audience? Like Belize, for example, we're a little strange, like we like some sexy stuff if it's from an international market, but then if you do it locally, you don't always get the best reaction. And some sexy works, but too sexy doesn't, or derogatory obviously doesn't work. Now, my question to you is, if somebody comes up with an ad campaign and goes ahead, rolls it out, and they start to get that negative backlash, what's your best advice as to how to recover? Do you just pull it?
Wow.
Do you pretend like it never happened? Do you issue an apology? What do you do?
All right. Well, whenever you post anything on social media and you get a lot of negative sentiment backlash, there's a leader method that most digital social media marketing strategists would use. So one, you listen, right? You educate yourself, right? Was this right? Was this wrong? You empathize with them, and then, but it all depends on the owner. If the owner doesn't feel like this is something he or she needs to pull out, then they're not gonna have that digital marketing person change their mind. But there's some method, and it's a crisis management that you really have to put out that fire. Like, is this really gonna help me or hurt me? And in the past, offline, again, anything you do in marketing offline, you have the same. You just transform it digital. So before launching TV ads or radio ads in the past, I'm not sure if people do that here in Belize, but you will have a small focus group.
Yeah, you test it.
And you test it, right? So do the same with your digital ads. Share it with your employees, share it with your mom, share it with your aunt. Is it gonna upset any of the generations before I launch it? And is it really gonna sell or hurt me, right? And you have to have clear goals. And I think with digital marketing, you can do that. Is it that I want brand awareness? Is it that I wanna sell more? Is it a promotion? And that was one of the questions we asked. I attended a Facebook webinar on Monday, and that was one of the questions about running ads. Like, how often do you have to refresh your ads? And digitally, Facebook is telling you every 2 weeks. Because you lose relevance, and because you lose relevance, then Facebook algorithms start to lower your ranking, and then you start losing engagement. Versus traditional media where you run it for 3 months, and you can run the same ad.
Is digital marketing an expensive venture?
Well, I've actually done a comparison between TV ads in Belize, radio and print, right? And the reach each has, right? And I'll just take an example with the newspapers, right? A full page ad would cost you roughly $400 to run one time in one newspaper 1 week, right? And you probably reach, let's say, 5,000 users, versus taking $50 and putting that on your social media channel, growing your fan base, right, of your micro community that is interested genuinely in you, right? And growing that database organically, because then you can organically build your own community and reach them from time to time.
Now, and I think that is key. Now, we speak of being online as being free, but when it comes to venturing into digital marketing and doing it properly, there is a cost associated. What's the difference between somebody who just tells a employee, just post this on Facebook, versus someone who invests in a digital marketing strategy?
I think the leadership that you get from a company who will put together your digital marketing plan and structure it in such a way that it will tell you These are the best days to post. This is your best social media to bank on. These are the days you need to post on. And even creating content categories so that they could develop posts in each of them. It really gives you that roadmap that you need to get started. And I know a lot of times it happens when they're like, and when people are hired, Facebook, and they're like, yeah, but they know it as a personal level. And there's a huge difference when you run something personally or for your business. You have to have somebody who's in tune, who understands the brand. And actually, just yesterday when I was going to Corozal, I was talking to somebody about the Walt Disney internship or the McDonald's internship. Like, they really induct you in their brand. They really train you on how the brand got started, the history of the brand, what they stand for, their values, and they're very, very clear cut. And I think a lot of companies don't have that organized structure offline. Some companies in Belize don't even have a marketing plan. They just do things ad hoc. And then they want to go into digital, and it's going to be as messy as offline.
That's right.
And you keep on mentioning the voice. And we're not talking singing here. How does one identify? And that is essentially the tone as to what you undertake with your marketing, because there is some writing involved, and that means, am I speaking directly to you? Am I giving a general message? How do you help someone to identify what their voice will be in their marketing strategy? And is it a good idea to have multiple persons managing content?
All right, that's a two-part question. So the first one, you should have just one voice. It should be genuine.
That answers the second one.
But voice and having people managing your social media content are two things. You could have somebody who has the vision, whoever's the visionary of the brand. Like, again, I go back to Apple and Walt Disney and McDonald's. They all had a visionary. Steve Jobs is still very much vision still alive today. He was able to emit that to all the employees, even though he's long gone, right? The same thing with Walt Disney. He had this huge vision, and he was able to do that. Some business owners are able to do that, some are not. Some you have to dry it out of them. Why did you start this company? Why is the logo this way? Why did we pick these colors? What are your brand attributes? And a lot of times people don't take the time to ask those very important questions. And when you do that exercise, there's an exercise called brand personification. It helps you develop your voice. And it helps you to see in the direction and the message delivery that you have to create. And then going back to your second question, if you can have more than 2 people or 3 people on social media, I advise it, especially if you're doing it very good. Social media is like a snowball. It keeps rolling and it gets bigger and bigger. And if you're doing better, it means that you're monetizing it. It means that you're making the money, and you should start pumping some funds into it as well.
But multiple persons with the same voice. The voice is
with
important.
the same voice.
Okay.
Yes. So
now let's give you the chance to move into your other tips. So we spoke a little bit about, we spoke about quite a few things. But let's talk different platforms. I use the example of Twitter all the time. When we meet people outside of Belize, people say, well, why isn't your Twitter page active? What do you do on Twitter? And I try to explain that for some reason that just didn't take off in Belize. But we know in the tourism industry, for example, they have to be on Twitter because that's where the audience that they want to reach is at. So let's talk about the different platforms and where you think people, depending on their interest, should invest their time.
Okay. Well, when you start putting your digital marketing strategy, you should invest the most resources, including time, even though it's not free, in the social media that your target audience is on. Right? So we spoke about that. Facebook is definitely the number 1 social media. In March of this year, Instagram got more fans and users on Twitter because they know Facebook is their big brother, and a lot of it is being integrating and they have reverse technology, so whatever Facebook has now, Instagram has adopted.
And they also take it from Snapchat.
Exactly. And actually Snapchat and even social media channels like Facebook, they have to constantly be reinventing themselves because they don't want you to leave their social media channels and go to Snapchat or go to Instagram or Twitter or Pinterest. Actually, Pinterest is on a decline right now, right? So things change, technology keeps moving and it's nothing constant.
Yeah.
So
I read about Instagram also taking a lead in terms of some users who had preferred Snapchat before, since Snapchat introduced advertising or sponsored snaps in their feed.
Definitely, and I think the biggest caveat for Snapchat is that they don't give you metrics.
Yeah.
And for a lot of marketeers, that is very important because that's how you measure success.
Yeah.
You want to measure reach, you want to measure engagements, you want to measure followers, you want to measure likes, and Snapchat doesn't allow you that. It's more at that social media only, not business social media, where a lot of young people are using it, but they haven't figured out just how to monetize it just yet. And I think Pinterest went through the same thing. After like 5 years of having Pinterest, they introduced Pinterest ads and nobody knew how they worked, right? And everybody was trying to feel their way around. And at the end, they did a quick fix and they optimized your ads, and it started working for a while, and then it went back again to where it was. So it's one of those things that you're not telling us how this thing works, so you have to educate us, right?
I couldn't imagine how you would advertise on Pinterest. Like it's a strange concept. But yeah, you can go ahead and finish.
But going back to which social media you should be on, at least if you're running a local market, make sure you're on Facebook. And Instagram, right? That's where most of Belize users are. The last time I checked with Facebook, there were 75,000 Facebook users in Belize as a country.
Only?
Yeah. Maybe that has changed, and it could probably be changed because now you could have a Facebook profile since you're 13 years old, right? Up to I think 65. So basically, they're opening in the gap, and I have seen, when I've run ads for different companies that, the younger the audience, the cheaper the ads are, and they are more likely to share content, right? So that's a quick tip there.
And Twitter is great for an international?
Twitter is more for an international audience. Again, when you're putting your marketing plan, you have to do that research. Where is my target audience on? It's kind of like how we shoot videos nowadays, right? Even Facebook is telling you, what, if you're gonna run a Facebook ad, then shoot the Facebook with your mobile, right? And shoot it vertically, because then it actually takes up more space on your phone versus one of these very expensive cameras, right? That will show horizontal. So the aspect ratio of it, and when you scroll through the feed, it actually takes up more space on your feed, right? And the stuff we don't really think about.
And length of time for videos?
Length of time, they said 15 seconds.
That's right.
15 seconds, because you actually have 5 seconds to garnish someone's attention. If you shoot the video vertically on a phone or on your iPad, you might get an additional 2 seconds just because you have to maybe do 2 scrolls, right? But again, Facebook has had an evolution, and I actually had a slide on that where they talk about how people's content has changed over time, from text to animation text with emojis to photos to videos, right? And we're at videos right now, and the next step is augmented reality. Our devices already you can view them. Facebook, YouTube 2 years ago was the first one to accept 360 videos. And actually, Google was the pioneer of 360 cameras. I don't know if you guys remember, 2.5 years ago, there was an app called Sphere, and I think it's still available. And then you'll take a lot of little pictures and then it stitches together, right?
Really?
And so that's how it started. YouTube starting accepting 360 videos. There's 360 cameras you could buy now for like 400 US, right? The Theta S and the Theta S1. The only thing is that all this content, this is the evolution I was talking to you guys about. And there's so much content, that you're competing every day more and more. So you gotta be more creative. You gotta use better technology. You gotta innovate, and that is kind of like the expensive part of doing social media, I think.
We thrive on the whole aspect of first world media, and we do a lot of what they do. I'm trying to come to terms with how come Twitter is not really working here?
I think it's just so fast-paced that, and the way you scroll through it, people want to be like, I think people in Belize want to post, but they want to be able to go back. And then just think about how you browse your Facebook, right?
Yeah.
At least this is how I browse my Facebook. I wake up every morning and I spend 2 hours on Facebook, and I actually literally go back to where I left off last night.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and then I go back and then I
It's
go
your
through.
industry. We'll forgive you
so
for
I get,
that, right?
right? But I get paid to be on social media, right? I'm not saying do this at home, right? I get paid to do this. But it's part of my listening strategy, right?
Yeah.
On Twitter, it's a lot harder, you
Yeah.
know, and there's so many more content developed that it just, you know, I don't think our Belize is ready to
My
create so
theory
much
is
content.
that we're just too wordy. Like, I think to limit Belizeans to so little characters, it would be so hard
could
to
be.
get any message out. But I love this because it really shows the progression. You know, if you're at the point now where you've just realized that pictures perhaps get you more engagement than posting a fully worded text, you know, the world has already advanced the videos.
Exactly.
Now, there's a very interesting lesson I saw locally. And there was a company, and I don't really want to call any companies, you know, they were ahead of their time, really, in my opinion, and ventured into augmented reality ads. And this was last year or the year before. And I recall them spending a lot of time trying to explain to people that you take your phone, you put it in front of the ad, you know, and it was, but it is the next step that we're seeing. How do you make sure that you are keeping up with your audience as well? Or do you just go ahead and force them into that direction?
I don't think so. I think Facebook actually explained that very same concept very well. You know, and when they talk about the content explosion, there's a couple of variables. One, the technology has to be right. Right. So maybe Belize wasn't exposed to that technology yet. I know last year when I was in Miami, I went into a company. Actually, Google has a Google tank, and they're actually designing inside virtual reality. You know, and I got a chance to do that. And you actually have like 2 joysticks, and you know, if you're a designer and you know Photoshop, you're actually doing 3D stuff in there. And it makes sense, you know, if you're gonna be doing stuff like that, then to do it in the same environment. And these were kids 8, 9 years old, right? But going back to your point, you have to be the different variables. One, technology has to be available. Right now, technology is telling us your phones are capable of seeing it, but they're not capable of shooting it yet. That's where we're at, right? And I think that's going to be the next step. You know, once we get augmented reality on our phones, right, and each phone will come with a 360 camera, you know, the amount of content, you know, Facebook alone will have to make a huge investment to be able to allow all this content because the file sizes are so big. Right now, you try to upload more than 2 360 photos, Facebook doesn't allow you. They only allow you 1 360 photo at a time because the file sizes are so big. So you have to think about that. The right audience, do they have the technology? And the most important one is, do they have the speed, right? Because
or the data.
A lot of people in Belize actually are on internet on their mobile phones, right? Versus you no longer have to go buy a laptop or a desktop. You know, most people say, you know, you don't ask people anymore, do you have a computer? You ask them, do you have internet? Right? And you might have internet on your phone, but you don't have an internet at home, like literally, or you don't have a desktop, or you don't have a laptop, right? So those are the 3 components that I think need to be in the market for it to work, right?
Now let's take some time to be a little bit critical so we can learn from more mistakes. I'm sure, since you have admitted to us the amount of time you invest on social media, or even just looking at digital marketing in general, what do you think is one thing that you consistently see businesses do that is very easy to fix to help their brand?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
Very easy. I think a lot of people try to oversell on social media, right? They write lengthy posts about how nice their food is, or how good their establishment are, or how quickly they should come and purchase whatever they're selling. And I think in social media, there's, and even offline marketing, you know, a lot of stuff that you do, digital marketing, they're core marketing components, right? Offline, you will do, there's something called silent seller, right? Where I'm gonna sell you something without really telling you that I want you to buy, you know. So you want to inspire people to buy this product. You're not telling them, please come and buy this product, I have 2 left, right? That does not work. Don't oversell. And I think a lot of people are doing that on social. A lot of businesses do that.
Yeah.
And there could be a more classy way to doing that, you know, like maybe you highlight some features. And I think just, you know, again, building those 4 key components in your messages, you know, engage, entertain, communicate, and convince. You know, you're going to do that at the end without having to say. And yesterday at the training, I mentioned that, you know, we have a segment on the training where I asked people to develop a quick little post, right? And people were like, oh, it's Friday, guys, come to happy hour, right? We have cool drinks, right? Instead of saying all that, just have a nice photo of a michelada or whatever, and then say, we're waiting for you.
Yeah, it's like an invitation. Yeah.
So that's
that's great.
right?
Yeah.
You know, it strikes me well for the fact that you could actually oversell on the internet. Then again, because of the amount of wording that you've got. So it's actually supposed to be something short, sweet, and to the point, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need to tell us how amazing it is over and over and over, right? You can show it. You can, and I love the invitational aspect. Yeah.
And think about it, like even now, think about what Facebook is doing. Facebook is actually awarding you if you write short posts.
Really?
Have you guys seen that? Like, if you have you ever said congratulations to anybody lately?
No.
All right, try it after this. You'll see you're gonna be accessing different effects, like your little stars, and then your one sentence.
You're right. I know what you're talking about.
Or you know, when you write a very short post, it enlarges it,
Yeah.
and it gives it color, and you can
And the
add
minute
effects.
you go over a certain length, it goes back to regular text.
That's their online indications for you to. One, they're awarding you for doing that because people don't read, right? Think about when you scroll your feed again and you click on see more, and then this long scroll just falls down.
I'm moving on.
Right? And you just press it back, like I'm not reading it, right? So I think that, there we go. See?
Yeah.
See? So
Great job, you see?
they're awarding you for being short because they understand that there's so much content, and because there's so much content, they want to create the quality content, give it more exposure. So they're doing
even
those.
the colored backgrounds that they've now rolled out, it really gives you a photo effect in your news feed with the text, because you're right, we just completely
so
ignore
that's
text.
them saying, you know, I'm awarding you for doing short.
Yeah.
Do more short, because then people can read more of that.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, when it comes to like for instance, mission, vision, they always tell you as well, why would you have a long vision when in reality you could just put this, that, and that's it. I think what it does, it's easy readable, because people won't gravitate to things that they have to read for
People
a length of
just
time.
don't read. Let's just say it, you know, let's be honest.
So quick tips would be, don't do lengthy posts.
Don't do lengthy posts.
Find your voice. That's
Find
also
your
important.
voice, develop your content categories.
Yeah.
Plan, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
And also look at your analytics, your metrics, right? They're like going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
If you go to the gym like me once a month, you're gonna get once a month.
You get once a month results.
Right? But it helps you to understand your audience, and at the end of the day, you want that. You want to give them, and again, going back into your content diet, you want to give people what they want, not what you think they want. And I think that's a big mistake with businesses, more times than not, because it's really hard to really take off those goggles and see your business from a consumer point of view.
And it's such a clear way of saying it, because you're right. We all love or want to love our own brands, and that's how we see what we're doing. We know if I know I have a great product, I create the most delicious cakes. I know it's fantastic. A couple of people have told me that, but I can't sell it that way. I need to know what the person who sees 30, 40 cake companies is looking for.
And I think with what you mentioned, you know, digitally, it's called your digital stamp, right? If you really think about it, and your digital stamp is what you say about your brand plus what people are saying about your brand, right? And that's your online brand, you know.
Can I ask you one final question? We're running out of time so quickly, and I love this topic. But can you demystify the algorithms? Because that's one of the things that I think perhaps we don't pay attention to. That Facebook has, and when we say algorithm, they have like a selection process, if we simplify it that way, as to what shows in somebody's news feed and where it shows as well.
Wow.
Right? Now I know, I mean, it's obviously their algorithm, but what has been some of the effective ways? Like when I look through, Facebook offers, I don't know if people notice, but Facebook offers like tutorials on how to manage your business page. And one of the things they say is, if you do this, this will help to boost you in the algorithm or something. But let's talk about that.
All right, we'll see how I could wrap that up quickly.
It's a tough,
It's a very big
Yeah.
question, but one, you have to make sure that your fan page is well organized. Make sure you have all your details, your web page, your phone number, your opening hours. Make sure that your fan page is well categorized, right?
Okay.
Don't say you're an NGO if you're not an NGO.
Yeah.
So make sure that your business profile is completely,
Okay.
right? And make sure you have a fan cover page, right?
Okay.
Those are some of the things that they looked at. Another algorithm that they really look at, and they actually rank you lower for, and that they don't verbally tell you, but they'll show your consumers, is don't take long answering messages, right? And actually, when you go on fan pages, Facebook actually tells you, you know what, Marlene takes 2 days to answer something. I'm not writing her.
It's rather
right?
embarrassing.
Right? I don't know if that was the case, but they actually indicate that to your consumers,
Yeah.
right? So one quick way to fix that is actually Facebook has actually allowed you to put an automatic message. So when
Yeah.
people write to you, you could say, hey, I'm out making pizzas right now. I'll send me an email here and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Put something funny and quirky so your consumers see that
Yeah.
human element in you.
Yeah.
The other one is how you engage with other with brands or friends, and that determines what features on you, right? Like if I'm always every day on Marlene's post and I'm browsing through it and maybe liking a couple of things on her, then Facebook
I'll say, you
understands
really
that.
like Marlene.
Yeah,
Keep putting
so
her in
I'm
your
gonna- yeah, so she's gonna be. But if I don't go on your one, right, then they most likely they won't feature me. They
Yeah.
won't feature you, right? They
Yeah.
also give you little prominent indications. You haven't published anything since 2 weeks ago. Like
Yeah.
950 followers are waiting to hear from you,
Yeah.
Wow.
right? So they actually prompt you because they want you to do well in
Yeah.
their social media. So they give you that coaching and education to, little tips to make you better and more engaging.
And when a post has high engagement, which means not just the likes, but also like people commenting
Yeah.
and
Sure.
participating, it also helps to boost you.
Yeah,
Right?
and they actually tell you, Facebook actually tells you, look, this post is performing 85% better than all the other posts you've done. Would you like to boost? And you could boost it $1, you could boost it $2, and it'll go a long way.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
definitely.
great. Well, I think we have covered as much as we can.
Yep.
Yes.
Of course, I'm sure for some people they've been able to learn some great tips. And, we'll always welcome you back to be able to share more about this particular. We'll just suck out all the information we can from you. And of course, how do people contact you if perhaps they want to look into providing training to their company or to personnel on how to enhance their digital marketing?
Well, they could, 2 ways, and actually all my handles are the same on
Yeah.
social media. I'm Mynor Lar, right? At Mynor Lar. And they could find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Snapchat, YouTube, Flickr, Vimeo, everything.
You're everywhere.
Yeah.
And even my Gmail. My Gmail is minorlar@gmail.com. So they could reach out to me there.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
All right.
We're going to go ahead and take a break.
Yep, when we come back, we'll be chit-chatting with a former Harlem Globetrotter who is visiting Belize now as a motivational speaker. So stay tuned.